You can create shapes quickly and easily in Excel by going to the Insert tab and choosing Shapes. Bigger question might be, why do you want these? Well, you might be creating a flow chart. You might be creating a logo, perhaps, just a little bit of design. You might want to put arrows on a worksheet to point to certain cells. A variety of reasons. Many of these shapes also certainly can include text for labeling. Sometimes you're doing it just to add a bit of flair to a worksheet. But a couple of approaches to these. General approach toward any of these shapes is if you want to draw one of them, you click the button here, you find the shape you want, and maybe it's a hexagon, maybe it's an octagon, whatever. Here's a hexagon. We draw it. Wide, tall, narrow, however. But if you are drawing any shape, if you hold down the Shift key, things change a little bit. I'm still holding down Shift. We're about to create a perfect hexagon, or better stated, maybe a regular hexagon with equilateral sides and equilateral angles. Sometimes we want to do this. Hold down Shift, be sure to let go of the mouse first. Now this is an oval. What if we want a circle here? Back to Insert Shapes. Here's an oval. As we drag this, it could be very large, it could be very wide, it could be very tall, but if we hold down the Shift key, it's a perfect circle. Let go of the mouse at some point. There we go. Same thing with rectangle. This was drawn as a rectangle, so that's the way it looks. But if we wanted a square, we'd click the rectangle button, drag, and as we drag, we hold down Shift to get a perfect square. That's true of all the shapes here. And there's a ton of them, of course, and we got all these here. A variety of them. The same general approach. Some of these shapes, for example, this one, and maybe you're going to use this for a particular purpose. I'm just going to drag it. I'm not holding down Shift necessarily, but let go. You will see yellow diamonds from time to time. And it's hard to describe these except by example, but they usually affect the inner lines. Here it isn't even quite accurate, but drag this around a little bit and you see what's happening. We're not changing the overall frame, but we're certainly changing the way this looks, even approaching a rectangle at some point. You'll learn to be attuned to those. And here's our good old friend in here, smiley face, and that's there too. So there's smiley face looking like Friday, and there's smiley face looking like frown face Monday, whatever. You drag this around as you wish. That could have been a circle, but I didn't bother holding down the Shift key. Once a shape has been created, for example, this one, if you'd like to make it larger or smaller and keep the same aspect ratio, that's the ratio of height to width, as you drag any corner, now remember you could go wide, tall, whatever, but if you hold down the Shift key, you'll be keeping that same aspect ratio. Do that. If you want to make an object larger or smaller but keep the same center, you want to hold down the Control key, as I'm doing here. Now if I drag the right edge here, this is making it wider or narrower, as you can see. I'm holding down the Control key. And maybe I'll let go and do a Control Z here. What if I wanted to make this larger around the same center, but keep all the sides equidistant from the center? Instead of just doing this, what happens if I hold down the Control key? This. So I'm holding down Control now. And I could do this. I'm holding down Control. And what if I hold down Control and Shift? We're making it bigger. Now, you can imagine, don't write any of this down. You just have to try this. And in all cases here, when you're trying these variations using the Control or the Shift key or both together, be sure, if you want to keep the effect, let go of the mouse first, then the keys. And so I think we all wish we had something like this back in the 4th grade, but it's great fun sometimes. And of course, the real purpose, probably in many cases, is to apply some text here. Remember, you can just right-click and choose Edit Text, or for the text that's already there, or to add text as well. But some ideas on creating these. Sometimes you also want to create a series of objects that are the same. So sometimes you have an object already created. If you press Control D, think of D for duplicate, we've duplicated this. No, maybe we'll move one around and so on, and either it's for design or flowcharts or whatever. So Control D will duplicate a shape. Also, when you're creating a shape and you know that you have to create a series of shapes, and maybe they're not all going to be exactly the same dimensions. Suppose you wanted to create a series of rectangles. Maybe this one doesn't exist. On the Insert tab, when you choose Shapes and you're about to choose Rectangle, you can right-click the choice and lock the drawing mode, meaning I'll drag a rectangle. Now this rectangle has to be somewhat wide and not so tall. I need another rectangle down here. It's going to be substantially larger. In other words, I don't want to duplicate the first one. I want a different rectangle. And notice that I'm still in drawing mode. I need another rectangle here. By locking the drawing mode, you allow yourself to create this shape indefinitely until you press escape. And we're out of that mode now. So a couple different approaches here for creating these shapes and making it a bit faster. There's a lot more to do with these, and this is not really a course on manipulating shapes, but just a couple quick ideas for controlling the look of shapes and their placement and fast ways to get there.